Hi, I'm Mike Dunn, and I'm the lead tabletop editor of Gaming Trend, and this is a very special episode of What's in the Box. You might remember a few months ago I showed you What's in the Box in the Sinister Silver edition of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. You can check that out at the link up here. Basically, it was a deluxe version of the source book and adventure with a ton of maps, dungeon mastering aids, and physical props based on the content of the adventure designed to spice up the game and make for a more immersive experience. Well, the fine folks at Beadles and Grimms decided to give Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, the Platinum treatment, and the giant 20-pound box that showed up at my doorstep was my first clue that this set was going to be a little different. Now, Descent into Avernus is an adventure for levels 1 through 13 that starts your players off in the famed city of Baldur's Gate in the Forgotten Realms. In case you're wondering, yes, this is the same Baldur's Gate from the groundbreaking PC and console games, a city that has been a prominent fixture in the game setting since the late 80s. While there have been many 5th edition adventure sourcebooks, Baldur's Gate barely received more than a passing mention in Hoard of the Dragon Queen as a pass-through location, where you could be hired as mercenaries, I believe. In Descent into Avernus, Baldur's Gate is central to the plot of the adventure, and the book provides a great deal of material for DMs and players to really sink their teeth into this great setting. Now, this is the book, Descent into Avernus, and it's just like all the other source books for D&D. It's pretty much got everything you need. The thing about Beadle and Grimm's Platinum and Silver editions is that you get a whole lot more. And we're going to take a look at that here in just a minute, but let me show you what came in the big box. All right. So we're going to take a look at this in depth in just a minute, but just to give you an idea, this is the core of the set. Most of what's in the set is in here, besides the 2 additional items that I placed on the table here, which we will look at in depth in just a second. So let's take a look and see what's in this box. Okay, so first thing, let's take a look at what's in the core box, all right? So, open this up, and immediately, probably the most noticeable thing right when you open the box is the soul coin. Now, this is a major component in Descent into Avernus. It has to do with, it's basically the currency of hell. And inside these coins exists a tormented soul, which imbues this coin with some level of magical ability. There are a variety of things that this is used for, but primarily this is the currency of hell. And this is definitely something that your players will encounter in the game. This piece is just really nice. It's really well sculpted. It's got a nice heft to it. It's huge, and it fits really nicely into the front cover of the box right there. So there's that. Let's take a look at this. Okay. One of the big features of Beadle and Grimm's sets is that they provide a lot of really useful tools for the Dungeon Master and players alike. And basically these are information cards on characters and creatures that are encountered in the module. And these are designed to basically slot in over the Dungeon Master screen that you're using. You have this side to give players a view of what the creature looks like or character looks like. And then you have this side for DMs, which gives them all of the flavor text and statistics and actions and it is basically a character sheet for the creature. Really handy to have, especially if you don't have your monster manuals handy, or you know, even just having to kind of lose your place in the book, and the Descent into Avernus book. And there's, as you can see, there's a ton of these included in this set. Additionally, these are they're basically additional images that you can put on your Dungeon Master screen, just like those. These are cued at specific points during the adventure, and you just slide those on your Dungeon Master screen, and it gives your players a visual to go with what you're describing. Very nice. Again, it's better than printing your own or picking up the book and like trying to hide all of the sensitive information that you don't want your players to see, but you still want them to see the image that's in the book. So there's quite a few of these too, and it's another feature that I really like. I actually think it would be cool if this trend and this trend extended beyond just the Beadle and Grimm sets, because these are really, really nice to have. So you also got some handouts. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but I do want to kind of demonstrate how beautiful this material is. This is something that you would generally have to like print out on your own. Like maybe you'd get a PDF of the material from online, or scan and copy from the book. It's really nice to have this sort of thing already printed out, and in fact printed on really nice kind of linen style paper. We've got the comprehensive thesis on the nature of the infernal, the Creed Resolute. Those look like the two main handouts like that. You've got some basically information sheets and guidelines for the Infernal War Machines, which is what this piece, which we will look at more closely here in just a minute. Infernal War Machines are basically like hell tanks. They're powered by these soul coins, and your players, once they go into Avernus, are going to encounter these and might even have a chance to requisition one on their own. It's certainly they certainly built the rules in such a way to where that would be something that your players would almost have to do in order to get through the adventure. So this is really nice. It's really handy. It gives you like a nice little sheet for each of the different infernal machines that are in the adventure. Another standard for Beadle and Grimm's Adventurers League certificates. These are part of the Adventurers League, more like the kind of the tournament play features of the D&D modules as they come out. These are typically run by your local game store, that sort of thing. Another really nice feature of these Beadle and Grimm sets are the bonus encounters that they provide. These are basically just one-off encounters that aren't central to the main focus of the module, but it's nice to have some material as a DM in case your players get off the beaten path, or you just decide that you like what's going on so much you want to kind of stretch it out a bit and give the players a little bit more to do. Or maybe your players aren't aren't high enough level to kind of progress to the next stage yet. So these are really cool. I, again, don't want to get too much into spoilers, but it looks like there are 4 of these, and most of them actually take place in Avernus itself. I could be wrong about that, though. Another standard, pre-generated characters for your players. Looks like we've got a Tiefling Warlock, a Tabaxi Rogue, an Elven Monk, a Human Paladin, and a Dwarven Cleric. These are specially designed for this module. They're really designed to basically be successful characters in the module. These are totally optional, though. You don't have to use them, but again, it's nice to have something on hand if it's needed. This one's interesting. These are red Cap Tots. So there's a part of the module where your adventurers encounter a group of disrespectful red cap guards. And this is basically a list of taunts that you as the DM can hurl at your players to really kind of give it that role-playing edge. I look at this and I'm immediately thinking the French knights from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but just instead of it being a castle in England, it's in hell. So this is pretty cool. Again, don't want to get too much into spoilers there. Another nice thing that these sets do is break up this book, this Descent into Avernus book. This book right here is all right here. So it basically goes by chapters. I have them out of order. But this is set up so that you can have a more compact, more usable form of the module that's just easier to keep track of. But the whole thing's here, and it's also good so that you're not inadvertently giving anything away to your players by like skipping ahead in the book or accidentally revealing something inadvertently. These are Dungeon Master screens. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this set comes with 2 of them. And the reason for that is because the module takes place in 2 primary locations, Baldur's Gate and Avernus. So this Dungeon Master screen is specifically for Baldur's Gate. It's got some really nice artwork on one side. And it's got a lot of really useful Baldur's Gate specific information and tables for the Dungeon Master on the other. And then you've got one for Avernus. Same thing, really nice artwork. And then really useful information for the DM. These are very similar in style to the Dungeon Master screens that Wizards of the Coast puts out. Those are usually oriented like this, and it's 3 panels, I believe. I like that these are a little bit taller and are 4 panels, so it covers a little more space. So there's that. A few more goodies before we get to some of the big stuff. We've got a couple of miniatures. Now, the first Platinum edition for Waterdeep had a whole box full of WizKids miniatures. They were basically, they weren't made especially for the set. They were basically miniatures that were already part of the Nalzers line. This is a little different. These are Beadle and Grimm themselves. These are player characters that the owners have actually played with, and because they own the company and they put out an amazing product, they decided to put their characters in this game. And these are a little bit nicer than the Nalzers miniatures. They aren't pre-primed or anything like that. And they aren't made by WizKids. They're actually made by Gale Force 9, who makes a lot of the specialty miniatures for the various modules over the last few years. So these are super cool. Can't wait to paint these. Now, we've got some physical props. I don't want to talk too much about what these are. I just kind of want to show you what quality we've got. We've got some really nice badges and buttons. These are definitely story-centric. They're part of what's going on. And as a DM, I love being able to hand my players some kind of physical prop or some kind of physical something to connect what's going on in our game to something that they can tangibly touch. And these things are just beautifully made. And I don't know what this is yet. I have an idea, but again, I don't want to spoil it. But again, it's a metal prop. It's got some really nice, cool inscriptions on it, and it's just super cool. I really like it. There's a terrain toolkit. I'm going to talk about that when I talk about maps in a second. And these are just some smaller maps for some of the locations in the module. They have a glossy coat on it so that you can use dry erase markers on them. They're very lavishly illustrated, just like everything else in here. Super nice. And now I want to talk about the maps. This giant tube of maps came with the set, and there's quite a bit in there, and I'm going to have to clear some space. So let's get these out and take a look. Okay. It looks like what we have here is a map of the tavern, the Elf Song, in Baldur's Gate. Let me see if I can get a good picture of that. These are designed to be used on the table with your minis, if you're using minis. These are at the scale for the standard size of D&D minis, including the Beadle and Grimm's minis, where it's a grid. Each square is 1 inch by 1 inch and represents 5 square feet in the game. So you've got the Elf Song, and it looks like the back of it has other buildings in Baldur's Gate. This looks like a villa with a basement. This looks like an area of Avernus. Looks like it's called the Scab. And on the back is the wrecked flying fortress. Just beautifully illustrated maps printed on was that parchment. style linen paper. This is where the premium experience of the Platinum box really shines, I think, is in the maps. So another map. And these are both sides. This one looks crazy. It's called Bone Brambles. So this is a grid. This is a sturdier paper. It's got this gloss coat, unlike the other maps, which were more of like a linen finish to them. It's double-sided. It looks like you've got a hellscape on one side and just like a kind of a marble floor on the other. And these are actually, this particular map is actually designed with this terrain toolkit in mind. And what this is the terrain toolkit for the Avernus Hellscape. And these are vinyl overlays, reusable vinyl overlays that you can easily stick to this map right here. So as you can tell, it's an impressive edition of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. Now, a couple of things that I should tell you about this. First of all, it is not available for purchase on the Beadle and Grimm site anymore. You had to pre-order it, and those pre-orders had to be in before even the basic book came out. Now, I'm sure you might be able to find it on eBay or some other resale site, but you're probably going to pay a little bit more than the $500 standard price. Now, I do think that there's a lot of value in this set. Obviously, it's keyed specifically towards Descent into Avernus, but there's a lot of components in here that any enterprising DM could fold into a current campaign that they're running, or might find useful, like the maps, especially the basic grid with the hellscape and the marble on the other side. Some of the props are specific to Forgotten Realms, but if you're playing a Forgotten Realms campaign, those might come in handy as well. And, you know, just a lot of other components, the miniatures, the character guides, that sort of thing, all super useful, even beyond just the Descent into Avernus storyline. Now, one of the things that I think Beadle and Grimm's could do that I think would be hugely popular is to take some of these components, like for instance, the soul coin, and sell it separately, other than from the set, because I'm sure there's a lot of aspects and other components as well within this that DMs might like in a more a la carte fashion. That said, it would make the contents of this box considerably less exclusive to the box. And I think that was one of the big critiques of their first Platinum Edition, when they included a bunch of already released WizKids miniatures in the set. Frankly, as a DM, I'm always looking for things to enhance the gameplay at my table and to increase the immersiveness that my players have. So, like, this is basically a treasure trove as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of things that I could use in here that aren't necessarily that don't necessarily tie me into running the Descent into Avernus campaign. Though I will say the Descent into Avernus campaign is quite nice. So, I mean, there's a lot of value in the box. Would I spend $500 on it? I might. I think the only thing that would give me pause is that I would have had to have pre-ordered it before I even knew how good or how bad Descent into Avernus is. Another caveat, I generally don't think that they've come out with a bad adventure yet. So Some of them are better than others, but I don't think any of them are bad, and I think they're all incredibly useful. So that is what's in the box, Descent into Avernus. I hope you enjoyed, and if you do like what you see here and what you've seen in the previous video I did, then I should probably let you know that they just recently announced a gold edition of the new Eberron adventure book that will be published later this year. That will probably be shipping in February, but it's only $250 and will probably contain less stuff, but it will have the same high level of quality that we've come to know from Beadle Grimm's. And it's good to know that they're experimenting with different price points. We had the Sinister Silver edition of Saltmarsh. Now we're getting their first gold edition for Eberron. So if that interests you, then we can hit up this link where we talk about the new set, and then go and pre-order it. But thanks again.